Alright guys, welcome back. So apologies that I haven't posted on YouTube for a while, just over a week. I've had a really busy schedule, work, streaming, everything, and redesigning the whole stream. So while I'm on the stream, I stream over on Twitch, obviously ScottyJ87 on Twitch, links in the description. Come over and check me out. I've done some really cool things with it, I think, that you might like. We play some WoW. We have some news updates for Ashes of Creation. We play Jackbox TV as well. Have a few beers, get drunk, have a good laugh, cracking. Come over and have a look. And obviously, if you like this video or any of the other videos you've seen from me, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I'm putting videos out, obviously, and drop the video a like because it really helps. And we've all got to try and beat that YouTube algorithm, haven't we? So yeah, any support, much appreciated. So remember as well, somewhere in this video is a movie quote. In all of these profession videos I'm doing, I think I've only got a couple left after this one. I'm putting a movie quote in there. If you say what movie it's from in the comments, you'll be automatically entered in to win a month's game time, which I will announce after the last video, which I think is going to be jewel crafting, actually. So this one's not going to take very long. Said about every video. This one's not going to take very long, I promise, because all we're doing is looking at gathering. So I've included skinning in that, obviously. So skinning, mining, herbalism. And we're going to look at which ones, how they make gold, which one maybe makes the best gold, which one's useful with other professions, you know. And in all fairness, that's about it, really. It's as I say, we're just going to have a quick look at each one of them. I'll give you my opinions on the gathering profession, what it goes well with, what you can do with it, what things are quite lucrative. And that's about it, really. So let's get crack-a-lacking. So we'll start with skinning first. So fairly boring one, but quite lucrative. So if you haven't seen any of my videos on TBC before, or you've been living in a cupboard for the last 13 years, you might not know that drums are... They're made by level working, by the way, but drums are more or less a requirement for try-hard guilds, super hardcore raids, because it's a permanent 5% to the raid, which... you wouldn't say no to that, would you? So how are they made? They're made, obviously, with skinning. So heavy knot-hide leather and thick cleft hoof leather. So those two in particular are going to be quite lucrative if you're a skinner. There are other fell scales and stuff like that as well you can make good gold from, but we're focusing mainly on the heavy knot hide and the thick cleft hoof, because thick cleft hoof is also needed for the druid set, the druid tanking set, which you got to remember, if we're going from classic, if you're watching this right now playing a private server, then maybe largely irrelevant, but when you're going from classic, you're going to have all of these druids that have been forced to play resto. The odd feral cat, which is decent, and the odd feral bear that probably people would rather have a warrior. But now you're going to have this class, this big bear that can actually perform and outperform other tanks if they're good. So you're going to have all these druids changing main spec and one in this set, which you can make a lot of gold just from selling the cleft hoof leather. And, you know, let's face it, you're going to be killing all these cleft hoofs, doing the quests for Hemit Nezimwari in Nagrand anyway. So, you know, you'll get an abundance of it. If you're not going to use it yourself, then obviously you're going to sell it. You're going to make some good gold. It's a great place to run around, obviously, because there's going to be so many people leveling in Nagrand. I'd say if you asked 10 people, 8 out of 10 probably say Nagrand's their favourite zone. So the majority of people do all the quests in Nagrand. So when you're 70, you can more or less just run around and skin all the mobs that other people are killing and not even bother killing anything, which is quite nice. I'm not saying I would want to do that on my main. I wouldn't have skinning on my main. The only place or time I would have skinning on my main is in the transition between Classic and TBC. So me as a druid at the moment, but possibly a rogue, and I give rogues a lot of stick, and I'm quite enjoying them. And they can raid. Oh, sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. But no, they can raid. I'm not saying they're as good as like a hunter or a warlock or whatever, you know. But they're fun. I don't care. I like stabbing alliance in the face. I'm a bit of a PvP fiend on this character, to be fair. But either way, went a bit off topic. Sorry. So I'm going to be doing skinning and level working. Obviously, I'll have both of those maxed at 300 before TBC comes out. I'll use the skinning to max my level working. Then I'll drop skinning and take whatever else I want, which probably will end up being enchanting actually, because of PvP. But and the enchants, obviously, but mainly PvP for the ring enchants. So you can make good gold. We've already, you know, established that. There will be a large dependency on how Blizzard handle a Classic to TBC launch for skinning. Well, for all of these professions, in fact. But for skinning, I think it's quite a big one because everybody's going to be skinning. So let's say it's a fresh server. Everybody will be skinning because you don't need to go out your way. It's not going to slow you down. You know, you can vendor all the low-level hides and stuff rather than actually putting them on the auction house because the auction house is going to be flooded. But you might want to, if it's fresh, you might want to go skinning and herbalism. Maybe you're going to go level work in alchemy or skinning mining, maybe you're going to go level work in blacksmithing, maybe you're a warrior, maybe you're an enhancement shaman. So, that is going to depend on how much gold you can make with it, because if it's a fresh server, for the first few months, leather is just going to be dirt cheap. Almost probably pointless leveling it. You might as well just make some gold while you're leveling and then buy your way to max level working. On the other hand, though, if it goes as it is now, there'll be a lot of people that don't want to go back and level skinning. They'll just want to buy the stuff. They're mages who have been farming Zolgurub and strat runs and doing boosts and all of that sort of thing. So they'll have an abundance of gold. So they'll pay whatever you're selling it for. So it is really going to depend, like what the economy is going to be like based on how we get into TBC. But that's going to apply to a lot of these professions anyway, well, all of them almost. So skinning, we can say, decent profession. A lot of people are going to be skinning. You're going to need it for drums, or you're just going to buy the drums. Interestingly, you don't actually, if you're let's say a mage, obviously going level working for drums, you don't actually need to max level working. So to make the drums, don't quote me on it, I should have checked before the video, 365, around that I believe. To use them is only 350. Getting to 350 as level working is actually really easy. It's only like those last 25 points that are expensive, are time consuming and all of that. So you can just buy the drums off the auction house, which again, now we're looking at that's another way that if someone's skinning level working, they can sell drums at sort of 25 gold a stack. Pretty decent income. But from what I've noticed, I'm going purely by private servers because I can't remember TBC back in the day, as in I can't remember what the economy was like. The mats themselves are more expensive than the drums. That sort of thing never makes sense to me, but that has been the sad fact on these 2 private servers I've been playing. But anyway, hopefully on Classic TBC it won't be the same, because gold is going to mean more because it's more permanent, if you like. Let's move on to Herbalism. Firstly, what I want to say about Herbalism, what people forget about, is the primals in the game. So primal air, primal mana, primal fire, primal water, primal earth, not earth so much, they're not actually that expensive, but the majority of these are going to be quite expensive. And primal shadow, I forgot that. So primals are like the number one currency, basically, in TBC, because they're needed for almost every profession. I would actually go as far as saying every profession. And a lot of them are needed for daily cooldowns. Cloth cooldowns for tailors, transmute cooldowns and everything else. So they're going to be in high demand. If you're Herbalism, there's certain mobs that you can kill to get, maybe like the bug giants, the big sort of rotting fungal beast type, what you'd expect to be able to herb. So you can actually kill those and herb them for additional motes of life, which doesn't sound great, but actually you can get a pretty good income from Herbalism without actually running around gathering herbs. So again, thought that was worth mentioning. But Herbalism is going to be great on an ult, especially a druid, because you haven't got to invest in flying. You can just get to 68, go around. You're all right, you're only flying at rubbish speeds, but it's free. It's free, and you can just fly around aimlessly watching Netflix, gather herbs. Maybe you're mining as well. Herbalism is not really one that I recommend having on a main, unless you went Herbalism alchemy, and then your aim was to, at some point in the future, maybe you want to get as much gold at the start, making flasks, making potions, everything. You're not overly bothered about min-maxing, or maybe you're playing a class which you don't really need the other professions. By that I mean, if you're, for example, a mage and you was allowed to raid without having drums, you might go herb alchemy, or you might go tailor and enchanting, or whatever. But a mage should be tailoring anyway. I don't know what I'm saying. Cut. What you need to do, basically, is go level working. So Herbalism's had a massive shift from Classic into TBC. Obviously, Black Lotus in Classic is, the only way I can describe it is AIDS. But it doesn't work like that. It's not that singular herb that controls an entire market. It doesn't work like that in TBC. So there's Fel Lotuses, yes, but you can get them from numerous different herbs rather than just a Fel Lotus. So basically, anything you herb has got a chance of giving you a Fel Lotus. They are quite rare. I wouldn't say that, well, they're not as rare as Black Lotus, because obviously the market is completely different. Whereas having Flask is ridiculously expensive, only the super tryhards do it in Classic. In TBC, Flasks are going to be nothing, because Fel Lotus is quite easy to get. Believe it or not, it's the other herbs that are quite a bit more difficult to get, or there's less of them. There's certain herbs, which I'll show you now, certain herbs that are quite expensive for what they actually are. So like the thistles, the Fel Lotuses are, of course, going to be expensive, and it's one of those markets where it's quite strange because of elixir mastery. So if you haven't watched my alchemy video, watch my alchemy video so you understand what I'm talking about. I'll put a link up there. So elixir mastery, you got a chance of proccing extra flasks. So you almost don't expect a Fel Lotus to be cheaper than a flask. A Fel Lotus should actually be cheaper than a single flask, because one Fel Lotus you could get 5 flasks, which, you know, now all of a sudden that's reduced the cost of that Fel Lotus. So I think alchemy is one of the only professions where I expect to look at the mats and see them more expensive than the finished product. Now, there's certain flasks that are particularly good. So like Flask of Blinding Light is always going to be selling well, as is Pure Death. That's because they give more spell damage for obviously specific schools. So it's only certain classes that would want to use them. But they give more spell damage than the raw spell power damage flask. But that spell power damage flask is going to be a little bit cheaper. Obviously you're going to pay a little bit more, but you know, at the end of the day, if you're paying an extra 15 gold for, you know, extra spell power, you should be doing it. But these ones, the mats for these ones are always going to be expensive. The flask itself, you're always going to be sat there praying that it procs when you're crafting it. But yeah, overall, Herbalism really good. You're always going to be making gold. You can just run around for a couple of hours, gather everything, either send them to an alchemist or give them to a friend, get whatever, you know, get your flask crafted for the raid, or you can just sell all the raw mats and buy flasks. As I say, the raw mats are generally more expensive, so if you're not an alchemist or your friend's not an elixir master, you might be better off selling the mats to buy your flasks with. Just my opinion. And then lastly, I told you this was going to be short, and then lastly, mining. Now mining, it's one of those that you can't go wrong with. There's not a lot to brag about. There's not a lot to sit here and say, oh my god, you can do this as a miner. You can, you know, no, there's nothing. There's nothing amazing about mining other than it's just always going to be good income. Particularly with, obviously in TBC, they added the new profession jewel crafting, which if you've only played Classic, obviously jewel crafting makes gems. Yeah, they make good necks, rings, trinkets, just, you know, obviously, and gems. I've already said gems, but yeah, they still make gems. You know, so you can sell like adamantite ore or fel iron ore, whatever, and then they prospect it. So they basically consume 5 ores for a chance of getting, you know, a green gem, a couple of green gems, a blue gem, you know, just a mix, and then you get some dust from adamantite that you can use to make other things. So, you know, all in all, we'll learn about that when I do the jewel crafting video. We haven't obviously done that yet. But again, it's pretty boring trying to talk about mining and make it sound good. You'll make good gold. Like that, 100%, you will make good gold. You got Eternium bars, you got Felsteel bars. Now, Felsteel bars are going to sell really well because they're needed for, like, you know, really good pre-bis epics, good pre-bis weapons. There's a lot of things that need Felsteel bars. And then you got Corium bars. Corium bars will do well. I can't really big up mining much more than that. It is what it is. You'll just fly around Nagrand a few times, hit a few mines, list it on the auction house, or send it to your jewel crafter and prospect, and then sell the gems. If you're mining jewel crafting and you get lucky and you're getting those red gems, actually that does take me back to original TBC back in the day, because I used to absolutely love jewel crafting. My main was mining jewel crafting. So you know, obviously I wasn't as the knowledge that I've got now of the game I didn't have back then. Obviously, if one of you said, I'm going to go mining jewel crafting as my main, I'd say you're an idiot. But clearly I was an idiot back then. But I used to love prospecting and then getting a couple of like red gems and then being like, oh wow, 100 gold. You know, you could have got 2 red gems from 1 stack of ore and that's 100 gold. You know, it's actually a fun combo. It's actually got me thinking I really need to level one. Yeah. But anyway, so oh, they're the three overall. I can't sit here and tell you what you should be, because if we're talking purely me and we're talking a standalone profession, so I mean standalone gathering profession, we haven't got any main profession that can make use of what we're gathering, then I would go herbalism. The herbs, just the Fel Lotuses, they'll always sell well. If I had a profession to pair with it, as I say, I would go mining jewel crafting. If I'm doing it just for leveling, I would go skinning. So they've got there. It really depends on what you've got on your account and what you plan to do. But that's it from me. As I say, thank you as always for watching. I've only got a couple of profession videos left to do. Make sure you listen now or rewind back and watch it again. Listen out for that movie quote. Make sure you say it in the comments for a chance of getting a month's game time. And come over to Twitch. Peace out.